Hey, it's Brittany with Gardening Made Simple. Let's talk tomatoes, the most beloved garden essential. We all know we love us a good tomato sandwich here in the South. And so this is a staple that most people want in their gardens. And even if you don't want to just eat a slice of tomato, they're great for canning and freezing and using in all types of dishes throughout the year. So, I have some tips and tricks that I have learned along the way that have made my tomato harvest very abundant. So, I want to take you through a few of those tips, show you how I plant my tomato seedlings that I have started indoors, and I'm bringing them out. I've hardened them off. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say hardening off your plants, go back and watch my video on harden off your seedlings. I've done that, so now I'm going to put them into the garden and I will show you the steps I take to make sure that those tomatoes are successful. Okay, so here in my raised garden bed, I have already dug a significant size hole because my tomato plants, the ones that the one I'm going to show you I'm putting in today, is a beefsteak tomato. They're good slicing tomatoes. So I'm going to bring it out here. It's all tangled up with its other friends. Beefsteak tomato. Oh, and I just got a whiff of it. Oh, it smells so good. If you know, you know. So here's actually I used a stake because it was starting to get pretty big. And I just kind of tied it to it. Still leaning, but something that is unique about tomato plants is that once you plant them, they will grow roots all along their stems. So you want to bury in the ground up to their first leaves. Because these will continue to grow out roots on either side and really establish themselves. So, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take my stake out here first and take my little twine off, because I wanted to make sure with the tomatoes still in the container, I'll make sure I have a deep enough hole, because I want to make sure I take it all the way up to its first true leaves. Those little leaves that first pop up when you germinate any type of plant are not its true leaves. They're called either seed leaves or I'm never gonna say this word right, cotyledons, and so they're not the real true leaves. All right, so this one is going to be pretty deep hole. I think we're going to be good there. All right, so first thing I do is I actually put in a tablespoon of Epsom salt. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but tomatoes need a lot of magnesium, and Epsom salt delivers that. So I usually put about a tablespoon of it, and I sprinkle it in the bottom of that hole. You can see I put it all in that hole there. And I'm going to go ahead and put my tomato plant in the hole. I try to wiggle around the outside of the pot. Look at all those roots in there. Put it down in there. And then these leaves right here are the true leaves. You can't even really see the baby or the seed leaves at this point. But like I said before, the further up I can bury the stem, the better, because you're going to get roots growing all along that stem. So I'm going to go ahead and bury as far as I can. And if I cover up this leaf here, it would not be devastating. It would be okay. One thing I want to say also, if your tomato plants look really stringy and they don't look like their stem is very sturdy, you can always dig out more of a trench style hole and turn their stem over and then kind of bring it up at a right angle, because like I said, that stem's going to establish more roots and it's going to make your tomatoes a lot sturdier. And so I actually will probably just go ahead and bury these leaves just to give them it more support along the stem. Right. Another thing that I do with my tomatoes is I stake them. I don't really care for the circular types of trellises that you can put your tomatoes in. I just have never had great success with getting tomatoes out of there. So I will be placing a bamboo stake right behind it, and as it starts to get bigger, I will just tie it off as it goes, and I will show video on that as well. But this is my first couple of steps. I do my Epsom salt in the hole, and then I make sure that my stem is supported. I put it way deep down in there. I try to go as far as I can up the stem. I even covered the first leaves, and I make sure that they are feeling very secure in there. And I'm just right now going to leave my little tag so that I can remember that these are the beefsteak tomatoes. This is for any type of tomatoes. I will be also planting some purple Cherokee, some Amish paste, and some Roma tomatoes, but I will do the same exact thing for all of those. Okay, so the last step that I do with my tomato plants is I will either put straw or mulch around the base. I do this because tomato leaves don't really like to get super wet. And whenever it rains and it rains hard on the soil and the dirt splashes up on the leaves, they tend to not do well with that. They like to have their leaves to stay clean. And also, it helps kind of keep the moisture inside in the soil. It keeps them watered well. So I typically use straw just because I have it on hand for putting it in the chicken coop. So I'm just going to put it just around the base. And I honestly do this with a lot of my plants, not just my tomatoes. It just seems to be a good barrier between the soil and the plant itself, and it keeps the moisture in, like I said. So I'm just going to. Alright guys, so if this video was helpful, please let me know by subscribing or liking or even commenting. If you have a question, you could always ask as well, or you can head over to my Instagram, Gardening Made Simple, and message me there. And I also put content and stories on there about what I have going on in my own garden. So if that sounds like something you would like, head on over there. Thanks.